Operation Confidence proudly presents America's Invisible Heroes radio talk show. Tune in weekly on Sundays from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Pacific time with your host, Consuela Mackey, co-host, U.S. Air Force veteran Matt Davidson, announcer Taylor Marcella, U.S. Army veteran and Strategies for Hope segment host Dr. Kathy Cash, U.S. Army Reserve veteran and entertainment segment host Charles Whitehead, U.S. Army Special Forces veteran, and I Once Was Whole segment host Richard Cook, U.S. Army veteran and Lifeline for Women's Veterans segment host Martha Elena Varela, National Faith Director, Chaplain, and Veterans in Recovery segment host Anthony Akampora, and U.S. Air Force veteran and Incarcerated to Success segment host Kevin Lewandowski. For more information or to be a guest on our show, email info@operationconfidence.org.
Operation Confidence is a grassroots nonprofit. The organization's mission is to provide stable housing for veterans who have experienced homelessness, as well as providing a wide range of supportive services. To help accomplish our goal, a successful landowner has donated land for the project, a world-renowned architect has offered to design the houses, and construction classes from the local community colleges will take part in building the houses. Your support and donations are needed. To get involved, please visit our website at www.operationconfidence.org or email info@operationconfidence.com.
Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for tuning in to America's Invisible Heroes, the show dedicated to our veterans and their families. Yes, I'm your host, Consuela Mackey, Executive Director of a grassroots nonprofit organization called Operation Confidence. No, I'm not a veteran, but my heart goes out to our American heroes, especially those who have a disability and may be experiencing homelessness. For those who are new to the show, American Invisible Heroes was created to provide a platform for veterans to share their experiences, heartfelt stories, resources, challenges, and accomplishments. Now, board member Taylor Marcella is out of town for this week, so she won't be on the show today, but we have U.S. Army Reserve veteran and board member Charles Whitehead, who's going to introduce our co-host for today. Take it away, Charles.
All right. Today we will have Judge Herbert Dodell. He's the founding board member, and from the trench to the bench, we have Lauren Hammond, who has a monthly segment. She's the co-host of the monthly segment Creative Charity Auction. We have U.S. Veteran Special Forces Richard Cook, who has a monthly segment entitled "I Once Was Whole," and
Ann Montague.
And of course, we have Ann Montague. She is the Rosie Movement, and I don't know how to introduce Mr. Felix Giles, but he's here.
Well, he's our guest for today. So let's go on here. We're going to start off with Judge Herbert Dodell. Before Charles reads his bio, I just want to say that I am so thrilled to have Judge Dodell on the show today. He's our founding board member. He was with me from the beginning when I was itty bitty and just starting out with the organization. And he's followed my career in Operation Confidence forever. And I'm just so happy to have him here today. So Charles, introduce Judge Dodell for me, please.
All right. Judge Herbert Dodell is the founding board member of Operation Confidence, and who for more than half a century has served as both a successful attorney in the trench and as a Superior Court judge, having presided over more than 6,000 cases. As a lawyer, he has tried more than 100 jury trials, civil and criminal, in both state and federal courts, and has successfully argued before the California Supreme Court. Judge Dodell has a bestseller book on Amazon called From the Trench to the Bench. He says when he decided to write the book, his wife Shelley asked two questions. Why was he writing it, and for whom? After a great deal of thought and introspection, the answers were clear. He wanted to use his many years of experience as a trial lawyer and the experience he was getting as a judge to help the public deal with the anxieties and stresses that come from an involvement with the legal system. Most people know about how the legal system really works. When exposed to it, they are faced with anxiety over what to do and fearful about the uncertainty over what to expect, how to get the right lawyer, their exposure, and the expense and what is likely to happen. The book provides information for those caught up in the legal system or who are about to get caught up in it, whether it's a small claims court, restraining orders, general litigation, an eviction, or a criminal matter. My intention is to give them practical guidelines from someone who has been there from the day-to-day battles to the perspective of the judge. That's George Dodell's words. What can they anticipate? What they should know. What should they do? How should they deal with it? Today, the judge will talk about, is your insurance company cheating you? Go ahead, take it away, Judge.
Well, the answer to that is it's a definite maybe. I want to first thank Connie for having me on the show to talk about a very favorite subject for me. I can't tell you how long I know Connie because she's very sensitive about her age. So I'll maintain that. We were very young at the time.
Yes, I was.
And we have watched many permutations from year to year.
Yes,
So anyway, I spent the majority of my time prior to going on the bench dealing with insurance companies. It was kind of like a subspecialty. I actually started out as a deputy district attorney, prosecutor, went into criminal defense, and somehow, some way, I ended up doing insurance litigation. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And a number of years ago, I was invited to give a speech on insurance practices. And I gave it an interesting title. I think it's an interesting title. It says, "The only float in town isn't at the Rose Parade." And what does that mean? It means the insurance companies want to keep the money as long as they can, if they have to pay it at all, because they're playing the float. While you're waiting to get paid, they're using that money in investments, hopefully not in the banks that just went under. But the bottom line is they're using your money to fund their businesses, make profits, while you end up suffering as a result. And there was a very interesting article that I recommend to all of you. It was in the March 11th issue of the Washington Post, and the title was called "Insurers Slashed Hurricane Ian Payouts Far Below Damage Estimates, Documents, and Insiders Revealed." And it really is a terrible, terrible situation for people who have suffered these property damages and are not getting paid. And there's some very sad stories about it. So what I'd like to do today, in addition to answering questions, is talk about what remedies you have. And it's kind of interesting. When I went on the bench, having chased insurance companies for all the years, I thought I would be very biased against them. It turned out that they were right a lot of the time, and they won a lot of the time because they were right. There are fraudulent claims, and even though I'm cynical about a lot of it, some of them have some real merit. But there are companies where the corporate policy is not to pay, delay, lowball, which means underestimate the values, chop out portions of an estimate, and basically treat the insured as though they don't exist. And that's exactly what happens. So people always ask me, why do the insurance companies win? What do you think, Connie? Why do you think they win?
I have no idea. That's your expertise.
Well, I'll tell you why they win. They got a lot of money.
Okay.
The haves are going to beat the have-nots more often than not. And they hire expensive lawyers who are trained specifically to avoid paying claims. In fact, I remember years ago, there's an insurance defense lawyer. I won't mention his last name. His first name was Barry. He wrote the claims manual for one of the big insurance companies. And it started out in a very interesting way. His first comment was, and these are instructions to the adjusters, treat every claim as though it's a fraud. That's how it starts. And that's how a lot of them really look at it. So they run up the costs, they run you around, they make you spend money, and while you're desperate and getting more desperate, they're using your money to increase profits. So I want to give the audience something to look at. If you got something to write it down, You'll find it very helpful. It's an insurance code section, and it is section 790.03H. And there are also insurance regulations. So the bottom line really is, let me just read a couple of them for you. So you know, if you're being treated this way, you do have remedies. Believe it or not, there are a lot of very good things in insurance law that can help you if you find yourself caught up in the situation. So this is the section 790.03H, which says it is an unfair practice to knowingly commit or perform with such frequency as to indicate a general business practice of any of the following unfair claim settlement practices. Before I read them to you, the fact of the matter is if they violate any of these practices, that's a breach of contract. It's called a bad faith breach of contract. And in a minute, I'm going to talk to you about what kind of damages are recoverable. But here are the first six: misrepresenting to claimants pertinent facts or insurance policy provisions relating to any coverages at issue. Number two, failing to acknowledge and act reasonably promptly upon communications with respect to claims arising under insurance policies. And I can tell you, reasonably promptly doesn't happen all that often. Three, failing to adopt and implement reasonable standards for the proper investigation and processing of claims arising under insurance policies. And I thought it'd be interesting to mention that in a recent case, the adjuster was asked about documents that he received. And his answer was, I deleted everything. So we have no documents to prove anything because he deleted everything. Fortunately, we have the other source, the sender. And so we were able to reconstruct part of it. So that's number three. Four, failing to affirm or deny coverage of claims within a reasonable time after proof of loss requirements have been completed and submitted by the insured. Five, not attempting in good faith to effectuate prompt, fair, and equitable settlement of claims in which liability has become reasonably clear. And six, there are 14, but I'm only going to read the first six. Compelling insurance to institute litigation to recover amounts due under an insurance policy by offering substantially less than the amounts ultimately covered in actions brought by the insureds, when the insureds have made claims for amounts reasonably similar to the amounts ultimately recovered. So those are there basically for your benefit. And that's why the code is there for your benefit. In addition, there are also insurance code regulations. So if you are in a situation, you just refer to those statutes that I just read to you, and that'll give you some idea. And the real first question is, what do you do if you got a claim? People don't know what to do. They've suffered a fire, a loss, a water damage, whatever. They don't know what to do. So the first thing I would suggest is to hire what's called a public insurance adjuster. They're licensed by the state. And again, I'm talking only about California now. They're licensed by the state to represent your interests. And it's probably the best investment you're ever going to make because they know what to do. And the insurance company can't run around them as they can if the insured is unrepresented. And so that public adjuster is going to be able to create a paper trail for you from the beginning, which could be used later on. Now, I've been dealing with the public adjuster, allied public adjusters, and here in Glendale and in Orange County are very, very good. And they've been putting together a lot of very, very substantial claims. So I can tell you that there are many things that the insurance companies are going to do. They'll go as far as make phony claims. In fact, if you read the March 11th Washington Post article, which, by the way, was written by, her name is Brianna Sachs, Sachs. You'll see all the things that they do. And I can tell you from my experience, insurance companies will do what they can do to avoid paying the claims. They'll go as far as even hiding witnesses. I had a case where they hid the underwriter because they knew he was a big problem. I finally tracked them down, got a court order, took his deposition, went to trial in federal court in Las Vegas. The jury was out for 17 minutes. That's all. And that was a case in which 4 people died. Insurance companies avoiding, ended up 14-minute verdict or 17-minute verdict in the insured's favor. So if you hang out there long enough, and if you got staying power, ultimately the day will come that you'll be able to collect. In fact, there are instances where the adjuster will tell you, I'd rather have you use my vendors, building people and whatever. Why is that? Because they can control those people. And they can keep those numbers as low as they can get them, and they do. In fact, what's interesting about the article, it talks about 40 to 97% of the claims were underbid or underpaid. Can you imagine that? There was one case where there was $500,000 in claims, and it ended up at $23,000 offered by the insurance company. So they'll also claim wear and tear on some of the items that you're claiming were lost. And they'll also claim it's not covered. So you really need to have professional help with regard to the adjustment of any of these claims. So the strongest weapon that you have, ladies and gentlemen, is something called bad faith, breach of the contract, violation of the statute. And interestingly enough, if they don't pay your claim within 30 days, they have to pay you interest. Interest right now is 10%. That's a pretty good investment, actually, when you think about what interest you could get at the bank. So what you can also recover if you prove bad faith is something called consequential damages. What is a consequential damage? It includes personal damages to yourself, the anxiety, the fear, and all those things. It only applies to personal claims, but it's recoverable. And also what's recoverable potential, and I'm telling you this because it's not a one-way street in the wrong direction. There's something called punitive damages. Punitive damages are awarded against insurance companies and others if they intentionally and willfully violate any of these statutes or act in a certain way that's inimical to the public's interest. And generally that is between 5 and 10 times the amount of what's called your consequential damage. And for example, if you lost your house in a foreclosure because you couldn't make the payments because the insurance company didn't pay you, then that's recoverable. And so if it was done willfully and intentionally, which a lot of it is, you can potentially recover 5 to 10 times the amount of what the consequential damages are. And that's based on a case called Campbell. It's a United States Supreme Court case, which allows for that. Next question people always ask is, if we're going to make a claim, what about attorney's fees? You can't afford to pay a lawyer. Many lawyers will take it on a contingency, which means they only get paid if they win. But sometimes the cases are not big enough to find a lawyer that's willing to put up time and the money to try to chase it. It's just not enough money. But really is involved in the bad faith case, you do recover potential attorney's fees and costs. So at the end of the day, assuming you prevail, or even in a negotiation or a mediation, you can recover your attorney's fees and your costs because the insurance companies have actually computerized the potential in terms of what their liabilities are. I remember going back to, actually it was in Illinois, taking a deposition of a claims manager, and they figured it out that of 10 legitimate claims that they turned down, at the end of the day, they may end up paying 2 or 3. So they figured out the money they saved on the ones that they didn't pay that it should have paid was better than the ones they had to pay, and they were willing to take the chance. And that's what it does. They expect you to fold. They expect you to pay to accept less, or they put such pressure on you that you give up. And that's what happens in many places. So a lot of times the insurance companies are going to claim it's a genuine dispute. So it's not done in bad faith. But genuine dispute requires it to be a real, genuine dispute. If your claim is $50,000 and they offer you $5,000, pretty hard to argue that's a genuine dispute. And that's exactly what happens. There are other remedies. One is called an appraisal, meaning that if you're arguing only about the amount of the damages, you don't have to do a lawsuit. You can have what's called an appraisal. And that's provided by the insurance code. In fact, in the book, From the Trench to the Bench, I have attached a copy of an article I wrote on that subject. It tells you how you go about it. You can still recover your damages and everything else that goes along with it. So it's obviously a very extensive subject. I'm happy to respond to people's questions. You can email me at askjudgeherb@gmail.com, and I'll try to respond to it. And even though I basically retired from the bench, I'm thinking about going back.
You have been doing a little bit, haven't you?
No, I've been kind of retired for a couple of years, but I ran into somebody from the court not too long ago, and they said they missed me, and I said, I miss you. And one thing led to another, and he said, why don't you come back? I said, well, I'm thinking about it. So I might just do that. And I invite any comments or otherwise. We have a radio show of our own, which is called For the People on station KCAA and also on iHeartRadio. So if you want to learn about the subject matter, I'm happy to help with you. I just don't give you any legal advice, but I will give you some guidelines,
right,
and some tips, I suppose, to help you get to where you want to go.
They can also email info@operationconfidence.org in care of Judge Herbert Dodell, and then we can forward it over to you as well.
If anybody has any questions on the group that's on the screen,
any questions?
Time to ask.
I have a question for you. You mentioned the public adjusters. Do they come with a price, or is it is there a fee, a price, or is it pro bono, or just so our listeners will know this?
That's a great question, Charles. The reality is they're working on a contingency basis, meaning if you get paid, they get a percentage of the recovery. It's negotiable. Some of it really involves the question of how big the claim is and how much time they're going to have to spend. Obviously, the bigger the claim, the terms are going to be different. But you don't get paid, they don't get paid.
Okay.
So it truly is the best investment you're going to make.
It is.
Unless you have a lawyer that really knows the subject matter. And it's very complex. And if you don't really know the ins and outs of it, you're better off with a public adjuster who does know. And they have all of these statutes at hand, and they can help you if you need it. So that's my recommendation when you get a claim, first claim in.
That's great.
Sir, I used to be with Summit Adjusting. I was a hearing representative for the workers' compensation courts.
Well,
So I did
workers'
that.
compensation courts are another story.
Yeah, I know.
Because what happens, the
Yeah.
reality is you go in with a certain kind of injury, the way it's done, it's by rating system.
Yeah.
So if you have a certain injury, you get 10%. You have a more serious injury, you get 20%. So what do you think the insurance companies are doing?
They're going to lowball you in the first place.
Well, they're going to tell you already had it before.
Yeah.
You had it before, you can't get it again. So what are you forced to do? You're forced to litigate it, and there's a court for that. And but the money in workers' comp cases is generally far less than in other kinds of litigations to recover insurance proceeds, especially with regard to some of the coverage issues. They'll look for a way, wear and tear, whatever it's going to be. They're looking for a way out.
Oh, yeah.
You're looking for a way in. So I hope that answers your question.
And do you have any questions?
Yes, I did. I wanted to ask you, Judge Dodell, are you specifically interested in veterans, or
No, he's,
what is your specialty really? I see it's insurance, but who are your clients?
everybody.
Everybody who suffered a loss and is not getting compensated is
Okay.
a potential party that we can help.
Yeah.
And our object is to level the playing field, make sure that you're playing with the same deck that the insurance companies are, and try to deal with the fact that they have more money than you do, generally.
Usually a statute of limitations.
There is a statute of limitations. And many of the statutes of limitations are found in the actual policy itself. It'll say you must bring your lawsuit within a certain period of time, or it's considered to be waived. It means you're giving up your rights. But the insurance company has certain obligations. They have to notify you every 30 days as to the progress of your claim. Do they always do it? No, they don't always do it. Sometimes it goes, in one case I had, they went 186 days before they responded to something. Obviously, that's more than 30 days. In fact, one of the first things you need to do is you need to demand, and I use that word advisedly, you need to demand the claims file from the insurance company. By statute, they have to provide it within 15 days. Do they? Not if they can avoid it. And so there are obligations, and that's why I read from section 790.03 in the regs, because they do have to follow it. If they don't, serious penalty, because it's a breach of the agreement. It's called a tortious breach, and tortious breach brings all the other kinds of damages, which I just discussed.
Wow,
Anybody
you just
have-
a wealth
anybody
of
have any
information.
questions?
That's
Well,
information. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I know that you're a busy guy and you have your own show, but I want
to interrupt to tell people that you are one of the finest people that I've ever known.
Yes, that's right.
You're totally devoted and dedicated your whole life to helping others.
Thank you so much.
Amen, brother.
And you gave up a lot of opportunities to make big money to do this. And I'm hopeful, very hopeful, that we'll build these tiny houses out there so the veterans have a place to live. And what's interesting, which I don't think you mentioned, part of what goes along with that program is they get to work.
Exactly.
There will be business or work opportunities available for people who are living in these tiny houses. So you've done a great job, and
thank you.
Stand up and applaud for you.
Oh, you're so precious.
I love you too.
And you know I love you too. I thank you so much for being my friend, founding board member, and you've been just an angel. You and Shelly. Tell Shelly I want her to consider coming back with a segment. I know you can't because you're too busy, but tell Shelly I want her to think about it. Okay?
I'll tell her. She's sitting right over here somewhere.
Okay. Thank you so much.
He's making sure I can do this mechanically because I'm a mechanical idiot when it comes to the She wanted to make sure I got it on. The physical picture and everything else. That was her doing.
Yeah, well, you know why though? I told you before, you've had secretaries all your life. You don't know anything about this, you know?
You're absolutely right. But I've had a great partner for the last 45 years.
All right, there.
She's been there, and she's been through the ups and downs as all of us have been. And
right.
So, it's a partnership.
That's right. Well, I love her too, and I love you so much. You've been so precious, and thank you so much for taking time out to come and be on the show. And this is not your last time because you know I'm bugged.
That's right. You almost have to do everything you can to stop me from calling. You never give up. You call me until I call you back. So why not?
That's right. Well, thank you so much. I know
my pleasure.
Thank you again. We look forward to having you again, Judge.
Okay.
Oh, all right, Charles, you're moving right along.
Yes, and I'll tell the judge thank you for your the conversation we had there a few days ago.
Oh yeah, right.
All right.
Anything I can do, Charles.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Now we're going to bring up Lauren Hammond. Lauren is the founder of Creative Charity Auctions. She brings over 20 years of successful auction management experience. As a former co-owner of Sportings and more, Lauren fell in love with the gratifying experience of helping nonprofits reach and exceed fundraising goals by providing an excellent mix of auction items. Lauren and her team maintain long-standing relationships with high-profile nonprofit organizations that return year after year because of the high caliber of auction items, the exemplary and professional customer service, and most of all, the proven boost to fundraising dollars. Creative Charity Auctions is one of Operation Confidence's sponsors. We found that we can rely on Lauren and her experienced team to help make your next and our fundraising event a fundraising success. Lauren's guest today is U.S. Navy veteran Felix Giles. Felix is famous in many circles, including NASCAR and off-road racing, as well as appearing in motion pictures opposite some of the world's best-known actors. And there are the 1990 Baja 1000 off-road desert race, where even speeches in Congress were made about him. He participated and finished the famous race, becoming the first African-American to do so. Congressman Louis Stokes spoke before Congress, and the Los Angeles Times wrote a feature-length article on the feat. I am proud to rise today to salute Felix Giles, a former Clevelander and outstanding race car driver. Representative Louis Stokes said in a speech before Congress after the race. Felix recently changed the pages of history by becoming the first African-American to race in the Baja 1000. This represents an important achievement, and I take this opportunity to applaud this young man's efforts. The Baja 1000 is a grueling race that equally rough on both the driver and the vehicle. It involves enduring 1,000 miles of some of the most treacherous terrain in the world. The race normally takes around 30 hours to complete, and the only rest the driver receives is during his 5-minute fuel stops about every 120 miles. About half of the drivers complete the race. During Felix's first attempt, he survived a rollover and completed the race. Felix isn't just known for his NASCAR and off-road racing, but many around the country know him as their college professor for computer science. Some may have known him from serving side by side in the United States Navy, or even others may recognize him for his work with many charitable organizations and participating in celebrity tennis and golf tournaments. And those with a keen eye will know him from bit parts in several movies and TV shows. As Felix looks back on his life and quickly points to his military service decades ago and says the proudest moment in his life was when he qualified for his submarine Dolphins in the United States Navy. Only 3% of people can qualify to serve aboard submarine. It took a complete year to qualify. Learning every system on a submarine and being able to operate, he had to go to school for it. To him, that was even bigger than being honored at the White House and on the floor of Congress. Navy veteran Giles says, serving my country for 13 years has been my greatest achievement. Go ahead, take it away, Lauren and Navy vet Giles.
Okay, you've muted, Lauren. We can't hear you, Lauren. You're muted. There you go.
So yes, as Charles said, I raise money for nonprofits, charities, schools, churches, synagogues, and any other organization looking to raise money. We've worked with Operation Confidence several times in helping them, and we will continue to do that. We bring in items for the silent, live, and online auctions, and we have hundreds of items in our inventory, ranging from sports, music, entertainment collectibles. We have art, jewelry, handbags, and lots of travel, both local, domestic, and international. And we bring in what's most appropriate for every event that we do. We do golf tournaments and galas and wine festivals and poker tournaments and any other organization that would like to put on an event. And what they do, we're happy to help them. And so that's what we do. And I've met Felix over 20, 25 years ago or longer at a golf tournament. And he's a wonderful player, but he contributes so much to the nonprofit world. He helps on races with cancer for kids, and he does so many other things that he really helps in doing that. And he's had so much experience in many things. And Felix, is there anything you would like to say and contribute to the conversation?
Well, it's an honor, being here and listening to everyone. I learned a lot today about insurance. And, it's...
Your voice went out a little bit, Felix. You were clear a second ago. Now we can hardly hear you.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, great. And so, it's been wonderful just listening to your show and to see the different situations that you have going on. As far as my contributions, I've enjoyed the fact that I was able to represent my city of Cleveland, Ohio, and make history and get honored at the White House and on the floor of Congress, and able to do many things as far as serving my country. That truly is one of the most important parts of my life because of the fact being a submarine sailor was very rare. Being a Black submarine sailor was even rare.
That's right.
Normally there was either somewhere between 1 and 3 Blacks on a submarine, on the whole submarine. Everyone on the submarine was a technician. So it was a wonderful experience. It was 13 years of my life. I was in during the Vietnam War and also the Cold War. From there, I got out. I became an aerospace engineer. I helped build the stealth bomber, the B-2, and worked on several top secret projects from nuclear hardening to, the B-1B bomber. And, it's been interesting. It's been something that I never imagined. But
that's amazing.
The fact that I'm able to take all of that and help people with it is what also has become very important to me. The fact that I've had college students come back and tell me of their successes and that I played a part in that, or that I've helped people get off of the street and help them get into different veteran programs, that can make a total difference in their lives. So it's been wonderful. It's been a situation that I have no regrets, and I look forward to continue working.
Well, we sure need your help over here, Operation Confidence. And I really, really hope to have you on board with what we're doing. It's been a challenge, but it's been very rewarding. And people such as you coming on the show and the judge and many others, I'm really, really humbly thankful. It's all about the man upstairs is making it happen. And you're such an amazing role model, Congratulations on your efforts. Well, what are you doing now? Are you still involved with the NASCAR or what?
Well, I was badly injured in an off-road racing crash in the Baja 1000 out in Indo, which is flipping front to back 6 times at 140 miles an hour. So I had...
Can you say that a little louder? We can't hear you. Bring your speaker up.
2 cracked vertebrae in my neck, arms, ribs, lower lumbar, and heart damage. Ooh. And so I couldn't qualify medically to race again. And so right now I'm trying to get back out there and go racing again. So some
really? Daredevil.
Crazy and, out of my mind, but, it's something that
you love.
Well, keep on keeping on. I'm with you on that one.
It's like the military where I didn't get a chance to finish the mission when I had my crash. So I want to go back and finish my mission.
How long ago was that you had to?
Oh, it's been several years. And, now that I'm a little bit older, some of these things have come back to haunt me. But I'm trying to do everything I can to get back out there.
Do you have a wife and a family?
No, I'm a person that was married at one time, is no longer married, and have children, grandchildren, and now great grandchildren.
Reason I asked that question because
I didn't expect to have, but
it happens.
It's a blessing,
Yeah.
I just got to meet my great granddaughter for the first time last week.
Yeah, you had her on Facebook. She's absolutely precious. How old is she?
She will be 3 in November.
Oh, she loved her granddad, great granddaddy.
She does, and of course, her first word, to me, was credit card.
Oh.
She knows how to say that?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Yeah.
I might as well open up my wallet to her, because just stole my heart. And that's a grandparent understands that.
Yeah, I asked you that question because generally there's always if you're married and do stuff like that, then the wife or the husband will be like, "Are you sure you want to? You should." Because I went skydiving when I was married, and my wife was scared to death. She said, "What? Why?" I'm saying, "Hey, it's okay. It's like there's a parachute. If you don't, And then her thing, she thought, "You gonna mess up your face," and I'm like, "Oh, well, never mind the body." Just I'm like, but that was funny. But yeah, that's why I asked that, because when you say you have grandkids, kids, and all, hey, they want to make sure you're going to be around a long time. I say, I'm sure they're like, why do you want to go and do this now? Because it's in you. I understand that exactly. So.
Well, I don't see any reason why I would jump out of a perfectly good airplane.
Well, that's what I say.
About me parachuting or doing anything that crazy.
Well, that's not as dangerous as 140 miles on the desert dirt and then rolling up in them holes. And so I'll take
both
that.
Of you guys are daredevils, okay? Felix Giles uses a wheelchair, and he's a Army Reserve veteran, and he's done and still doing some amazing things for a wheelchair user. What about jumping off that? What was it called when you went off the What is that? Miramont?
The Hilton Hotel in Long Beach Hilton.
As a fundraiser.
That was child's play. That's nothing. That's nothing compared to racing 1,000 miles in the dirt desert, and it was hot too, right?
120 degrees.
Yeah. So I'll take the rappelling off the side of a building over the 120 degree 1,000-mile trek.
That's amazing.
But
sir, I sure thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully you won't make this your last visit. We sure need you on the show, and tell us more about what you're doing, and bring us up to date on more about what you did in the military, and also more about NASCAR. At least I am. I don't know much about it at all, but I'm ready to learn.
Chime in here, Lauren. So what is Felix doing? Because you say you're working with the charities. That's a great thing. This is we want to hear from you as well. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Felix plays in a lot of the golf tournaments and tennis tournaments, and that's where I originally met him. Was at a charity golf tournament years ago, and we have now, since the pandemic, we have really been starting to get a lot of new events, as well as events we've been working with, and we're just bringing things back and raising money, and we've been doing quite well now, and we're very happy that a lot of the charities are able to start their live events, and ones that aren't, we're doing a lot more online auctions now, which we started when the pandemic happened, and we lost over 70 events in just less than a year. Right. So we are back and working like crazy to raise money. So that's our whole goal. And
Operation Government's got a huge mission. We have to get our veterans off the street, especially those who are disabled and living out of their wheelchairs. So we really need you to continue supporting us and serving us. We really need you. So if there's any way y'all can assist us on putting together a tournament or talk to whoever does it, I'd appreciate it.
Well,
Okay.
it's all the nonprofits and we will, we were talking about doing an online auction, which, we'll talk more about that and
Right.
getting started. So
And we
yes.
want an actual fundraiser, on site as well. But I
Yes.
really thank you for your help, Lauren, and thank you so much,
you're
sir.
welcome.
You're gonna come back again now, right?
Most definitely.
Okay.
All right.
That's a promise now. Okay, at least drop in once a month. I know you're busy, but at least drop in once a month, okay?
I be like, I over here playing with my granddaughter. I ain't got time for y'all right now. That's gonna change everything. Well, operating confident, granddaughter. Sorry, guys.
And the grandbaby, huh?
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with
Thank you so
that.
much. Okay, well, we're moving right along here, and I'm gonna let you take it and introduce our next guest. Did you get the script, Ann?
You're muted, man.
You're muted. And woohoo!
I'm trying to get it.
Can you get it? We got dead air. Can't hear you. You do this all the time, girlfriend. There you go.
The cursor wasn't working. I have a question for you. You're a big guy, and I had a brother-in-law who was lieutenant commander of a nuclear sub, and he told me that only very small men could work on subs. Now, how did you work on a submarine?
What you say, sir?
No, I wasn't that big then, but no.
I can relate to that,
Unfortunately, it's not a lot of small people that are on subs. It's going through those hatches and everything would help, but no, there's a lot of people my size and bigger.
I'll get up here. Come on.
And thank you for his service, by the way.
Oh.
This is my new baby.
Now, Consuela, did you want me to talk a little bit about the Rosie Project at this point?
Yes, please. Okay. Tell us about the Rosie Project.
I'm happy to do that and glad to have the opportunity. Well, what's happening at this very moment is that we are essentially arranging for a major event at the it's actually next to the Iwo Jima Memorial is the Caroline of the Netherlands that was given to the United States right after the war by the Netherlands. And we've got serious obligation to bring in as many people to that event as we can. Now, that will also be celebrating the end of the war of World War II in Europe. So that officially, I think, is May 5th, but this event is going to be at Arlington, near Arlington Cemetery on May 10th. So if any of you know somebody in DC or can get there, please let us know. We've got the very good cooperation of the Embassy of the Netherlands, and they're going to be promoting it. And the first child to ring a bell for Rosie's was 7 at the time. She's now 14, and they're going to be essentially respecting her and whatever group comes in our name. And then the next thing is happening is on Labor Day in Philadelphia, we will have a wreath laying and planting of dogwood trees and other events for to celebrate the contribution of the women who worked in World War II to essentially freedom. And of course, behind all of that is that the Rosies, these women are a minimum of 92 or 93 now. But after doing 15 years of research with these women and doing projects all over the country and different parts of the world, what we're now finding and what we've realized over the last 5 years is what they really want to be known for, what they want their legacy to be, is to show that people can pull together do highest quality work, and do it in a spirit of cooperation, so that when we essentially talk in America about having our freedom, we are also realizing that we have to pull together to make that happen. And once we have new situations that we have to face, which of course we're facing very seriously now, it's better to pull together and quit fighting, because we're only wasting time and energy, and we're not using our freedom wisely.
And real quick, you know, there's a lot of people that don't even know about the Rosies, how it started with Roses and Rivers. I mean, we're on a lot of different podcasts.
A woman on last week and today, but she's 99 and she just doesn't seem to be happening that easily. But the women are now 92, 93, 94 at the minimum. And essentially, these are women who worked all around the country, doing everything you can imagine, from growing food to processing food to working in factories, making airplanes and engines and so forth, to working in shipyards, to working in offices. Whatever was done for the war effort needs to be understood better by the American public. The incredible thing is how the public really loves these women, that they have a misunderstanding that the women are only about women power. It is about girl power. We can do it and all that. But again, what the women themselves really want to stress is that they're not pushing just woman power. They're pushing the fact that we had to work together. And their concern for men was extremely, extremely high through the war. And they didn't think of it as killing. They thought of it as saving lives. And that's what they were told through the war, that if they made a mistake, let's say a grenade or airplane engine part, and it caused failure, then you were costing lives. One person I talked with today is a woman, a Rosie, who helped us. He went to the Netherlands with us in 2017, and she essentially unveiled a monument for an American paratrooper whose parachute did not open. And so when the 32nd Airborne Division came into the Netherlands to take over that particular part of the Netherlands from Nazi troops, his parachute didn't open. And the women were consistently concerned that they had to do quality work. And that's then what we keep saying. Do the work the very, very best you know how. If you don't know how, then essentially try to find somebody to help you. But most important, if you do a project that is going to be done pulling together in a cooperative spirit with high quality, then teach others how to do it. So essentially, it is a national movement now to follow the legacy of these women, to pull together across America and actually in other nations. We have huge support in the Netherlands and in other nations, including Australia, New Zealand, and other nations are coming along.
So, very few people know about the Rosies movement, but they know about the Rosies, the Riveters, and then from the movement came after that, and you're a daughter of the Rosies. These are some of the things, because we're not only on YouTube.
Yes, that's great.
We're all over now, and some people just have not heard about your movement.
Yeah.
So, real quick,
like tell us. We need to stress is as people start looking at their own family history or people they know, be sure and ask any woman who's in her 90s, what did you do in World War II? And even if she didn't work as a defense worker, you're going to be able to get some wonderful stories. And we need to essentially get America to know that this is not just about working in factories. What they did was far greater than that, and the meaning of it is far greater than just what they did through the war.
The about the
meaning
support.
of it is unity, really. E pluribus unum and all that.
Joe, you still have the video real quick to show?
Of course. Let me see.
Put it real quick. Give people an idea who you are.
I am Buddy Canute, a former Rosie the Riveter. I riveted P-40 pursuit planes during World War II. We did our part back then. Now, can you step up and help the Rosies pull America together again? Please call 304-776-4743. That is 304-776-4743.
All right. And Buddy's passed on, hasn't she, Rose?
Yeah, didn't she pass on about a year or so ago?
Yes, she did.
She was on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a notice of another Rosie's death this week, so they are leaving us fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know what was such an honor is to have some of the ladies on the show. Charles and I had the best time with them.
And it's an honor for us, for you to.
It's so funny.
Yeah, they over there getting me in trouble.
Oh yeah, they love Charles. You know, Charles is giving them wolf whistles and stuff.
Yeah, and had me doing the wolf whistle, or was it
Actually, the women wanted.
Yeah, I know.
It was funny to be whistled at. Like
I'm over here whistling, and I hear all the younger women like, "Hey, no." I'm like, "Hey, I'm just a messenger," you know.
It's not acceptable anymore.
They had a little crush on you, I noticed, but. Anyway, Ann, we thank you so much for coming on today and sharing. You're always one of the team players.
Well,
okay, Charles, introduce Richard. I know everybody has to go have a full schedule for today, so you can introduce Richard. And Richard also is he'll tell you real quick about his artwork that Lauren has and will be featuring at her auction.
All right.
A lot of excitement.
So, U.S. Army veteran Special Forces Richard Cook is considered another role model, a sergeant in the Army who fought for his country for over 30 years. During his service, he managed to build a family and launch a career in entertainment, hosting a weekly radio show while representing models and actors. But Sergeant Cook's greatest battle occurred after he returned from overseas. Out of the blue, an undetected tumor in his heart caused a massive stroke that required emergency surgery. While Sergeant Cook survived, he suffered substantial brain damage that led to vision loss, body weakness, and aphasia. This marked the beginning of an enlightening journey to beat the odds and rediscover himself. This year, Richard will be officially entering into the Golden Age Games, 1500 meter power walk, a major accomplishment after suffering 3 strokes in 2016. Whether you're a veteran, a stroke survivor, or a lover of great American stories, reading Richard Cook's book entitled I Once Was Whole, it will inspire you to never stop reaching for your goals. Go ahead, Rich, take it away.
Oh, thank you very much. Now, everybody, just to know, strokes are not easy, believe me, because the thing is, I had 3 strokes in 2016. 3. Had first in February 2016, had a major stroke. Then in June, I had a massive stroke. That one nearly killed me. But also right behind it was what I had for my vision loss was a 3rd stroke. It's somewhere in the brain. I'm not sure just yet. Somewhere in the brain, but it took my vision. So I work visually impaired. Technically, I'm blind in my left eye and blurred in my right eye. So everything is all mixed up. I'll put it that way, all mixed up. But the thing is, I decided I didn't want to stop. Whatever I was going through, I had to look at it in a different way in my mind. Most stroke survivors get very depressed, angry. But I said, I'm not going to get to that point. I want to just go ahead and handle things in a productive way, make things work. So that way, eventually, I will fulfill recovery. So the thing is, just recently, the stroke doctors had me do an MRI. I had one MRI already shown a few years ago, which showed in the lower quadrant of the brain is where the scarring was. Now, the lower quadrant in the brain now after this recent MRI, shows it completely healed. So the thing is, it does take time. So like my new book, it's not a race, it's a journey. You just have to wait it through. So now what I'm doing, come this March, at the end of this month, I'll put it that way, on the 25th, I'm flying out to Colorado, to Aspen. And I'm going to be part of the ski clinic in Aspen right there for a week and doing things ski-wise. Where I couldn't ski before because of the weakness on my left side from the strokes, I'm going to go do skiing. Then what has transpired as well too, then also in May sometime, either May or slightly at beginning of June, I will be participating with the Golden Age Games. Now the Golden Age Games is going to be slightly modified based on what my new entries will be. And I'm doing this to show stroke survivors how they can perceive and do things in a positive way. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to do the 200-meter sprint, then the 400-meter sprint. And then shortly after that, a few days later, as things progress, and then I'm going to be doing again the 1,500-meter power walk. Now that power walk, I should be able to get a little bit better than last time. Last time I did fourth place, which I'm not sad about that. But this time I'm planning to get one of the medals, which if I push up my pace, I should be able to do that. And that's what I'm going to do for the Golden Age Games. Then,
all right.
Then
and you've done some other stuff, archery, rock climbing, skiing,
yeah.
and deep sea fishing, and
you
never let any of that stop you. And that's what I think is amazing, is your accomplishments, And plus your workout program at the gym, you need to have classes with that. I know that you just started that, but what you do at the gym is just outstanding. And you need to have more stroke victims to be a part of your training.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what I plan to do. But I just want to encourage all stroke survivors that whatever seems to be negative and blocking you, don't. Just take it very easy, very calmly, and then you'll be able to find you can open up more doors by looking at things in a positive session. That's what I've done, to do things in a positive session. So
that's some of your
right there. That's the ski clinic that I'm going to go to right there in blue. Then next to it is where I'm going to be doing the summer sports clinic in there. And of course, that's where I just here at the Abilities Expo, which I thank you for having me on there. The Abilities Expo, some of them are going to be with me at the ski clinic in March. They told me that in that aspect, with the people who were working with me to climb their rock wall right there.
Right.
And of course, on the far right, that's where I was just starting. I was getting a little higher next to it. And then at the very bottom here, that's where I climbed all the way to the top. I was able to ring the bell, so I achieved it. And then I had to get down, but they helped me down by letting me just dangle, and then they lowered it down for me. So anyways, I was able to still do that.
That's wonderful. Congratulations. And real quick, you're going to share some information about your artwork and how that's done. And and Lauren has that a part of her auction. I mean, it's breathtaking work that you do. Tell us about that quickly.
I'm still working on photos, but the thing is, my recent photos I just took to her, and we're working on how everything will be with those areas. And then there's some information that she needed, I'll put it that way, in regards to my vision loss, and that's where we're kind of going from there. But it's several types of errors. Now keep in mind, what I'm doing is donating that back to Operation Confidence, because as a visually impaired person, that should have stopped me. But I didn't let it stop me. Now what I did, I have amazing cameras before the strokes. Amazing cameras, because I was a photographer, and now I have to do a different system and take the photos. Now that what I'm having as a result is I'm getting better pictures with how I'm doing it right now. And so that's what I'm donating what I'm doing as they get ready for auctions.
Thank you so much. That beautiful, beautiful work. Next time you come on, we're going to be able to show some of your artwork. Okay, moving right along here, we have coming down to a close now. Charles, you got something to tell us about the struggles of our veterans.
Yes, veterans continue to struggle to gain employment because of cultural gaps between civilian society and their military past, as well as a lack of seamless integration amongst veteran care programs. Years ago, companies and small businesses would give priority to veterans for work from their state's unemployment office. Unfortunately for veterans, things have changed. Interviewers rarely ask about military experience, and when vets bring it up, it seems to be of no interest to the employer. My friend David, who served in the Iraq War, had a similar experience during his job interview. He'd bring up the military experience on his resume, but the employer seemed to just wave off what he had said with an, "Oh, that's interesting," and move on to his civilian work experience. Since he had enlisted at 18, David had very little work experience in a civilian setting, and as a result, didn't get the job. Veteran employment is an ever-increasing issue in our country for several factors. The most pertinent reason is the fact that interviewers fail to see how the 4 to 20 years of military service may have given the potential employee all the relevant and valuable experience needed to fill that position. This is improving among large corporations, but smaller mom and pop businesses, the kind that are hiring the most, still have trouble understanding the concept of how veteran military experience is relevant to the job. The challenge is to show employers that general skills and discipline acquired in the military can be a priceless asset to the company. In addition, veterans continue to have a difficult time finding employment because of the issues surrounding their reintegration into society. Every veteran can probably remember the nervousness, anxiety, and perhaps the small hint of fear that they felt on their first day of basic training and the process of transitioning from a civilian to a service member began. Making a change back into civilian life after years of service can be just as hard to work through, especially when facing higher than normal unemployment rates. And then, I always remind people that, this is a ongoing thing, because things may be changing now with the recruiting and all things, because a lot of times, way back in the days when you went into the military, it was just about getting going in and doing whatever you're doing in the military. So when you came out, and of course I always use the don't go into the military to be a tree watcher, and then because when you get out, nobody's going to hire you to do that unless you live working in a garden or something. But they're not going to hire you just to be sitting watching trees. So it's very important that veterans or the youngers, the people going into the military, know or choose something that they can apply to the civilian life afterwards, if possible. Because it makes a difference. And
that's right. Well, thank you so much. That's some excellent information that people should know about. And we're starting to wind on down now. We've had some amazing guests, and always our co-host. Charles, you have a funny clip before we close out?
I got a little funny clip here. Let's see here. Let me see. I think this is another one of yours. So, Connie finds these clips and she just sends them to me. I'm like, I can't show mine now because of her. She But this is about 2 dogs for the radio listeners. One dog is a nice sized dog and the other one's a little puppy, and he's gonna the big dog gets in the little dog's face and basically starts talking about his breath, of course. So here we go. What? No, that ain't it. That must be some kind of a
intro.
Thank you. Wait a minute, ain't no thank you. Is that your breath? That's your breath. Oh, I'm about to pass out. That's your breath. Thank you. Wait a minute, ain't no thank you. Is that your breath? That's your breath. Oh, I'm about to pass out.
All right, cut it off, Charles. That's so funny. Okay, so we're winding on down. Before the show closes, I would like to encourage our viewers and our listeners to visit Operation Confidence resource page. We have a lot of amazing resources. Also, we would like to inform everyone about Operation Confidence Positive Redirection Team. That's a group of male and female veterans who are mentors, having overcome some similar challenges and situations transitioning back into mainstream society. So to be connected to the team as a team member, please email info@operationconfidence.org. We're also excited about Operation Confidence Combat Boost and LACE Veterans Mentoring and Creative Arts Group, and about Operation Confidence Distinguished Male Veterans Mentoring Group. And also there are actually also a group of male models. To get involved with that, I need you to also email at info@operationconfidence.org. Who can tongue tie here? Zoom meetings will take place the first Saturday of the month. And as always, I would love to remind our listeners and our viewers about our goal, which is to raise awareness about Operation Confidence's mission. We intend and we continue to do so by providing stable housing. That's what our mission is, to provide stable housing for our veterans with a wide range of supportive services. So to be involved with that grassroots effort, also email us at info@operationconfidence.org. And don't forget to visit our website, www.operationconfidence.org. And please don't forget to subscribe to our American Invisible Heroes on YouTube. We have our own channel. And to date, the show has over 122,000 viewers, and it's rising up every day. And when closing, we also would like to let our viewers and our listeners know that we're streaming on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, Amazon, iHeart, Stitcher, Instagram, and Stitch. So we're moving right along, and we just want to tell everyone thank you so much. And thanks to our phenomenal guests for today, and always our co-hosts. You guys are just outstanding. Thank you so much. And we sign it out. You're going to sign us out?
I'm going to sign us out, but I want to just make sure we get, when we had talked about the creative charities, did you give people a way to get in touch with you, Lauren? You know?
How you forget that, Lauren? Duh.
That's why we're here.
You can reach me on.
That's why you're here.
On our website, creativecharityauctions.com. Creative Charity Auctions with an S.com. And our office number is 818-840-1200. And
repeat that number again.
818-840-1200. And if anyone needs help with anything, please call me. If they have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. So thank you.
Thank you. All right.
You can always get in touch to operationconfidence.org as well.
Right.
All right. Well, then I'm going to, and we already, the 304-776-4743 is the Rosies. So everybody else is, been have a way. So we're going to share this, and we're going to give you the
signing on out. Okay.
Sign out. There you go.
Be well, everyone. Be well.
That's our goodbye. Is Charles' two fingers. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Goodbye now.
right now.
Bye.
Bye now.